Thanks again. So in the next 15 to 20 minutes, I would like to give you this overview of the use of sensor technologies in precision dairy farming. And this is the first thing that doesn't work. And indeed, this is quite a hot topic, which is intensively discussed among farmers. So approximately 5 years ago, there was a German journal that was published on the revolution in the barn has already begun. And because it's a German magazine, I didn't translate it, the topics, but in this issue, the benefits or the potential benefits of different technologies were discussed. For instance, that cows send their estrus alerts by SMS, or that high-tech technologies are used in the parlor. But also some limitations and current bottlenecks were discussed. For instance, that there is a need for a high-speed internet connection to use the full potential of these technologies, and also that there is no technology that fits to all dairy farms. So what is the reason why farmers show an increasingly interest in these technologies? So on one hand, we see this structural change in dairy farms. Here in this slide, you see the number of cattle farmers that decreased by 50% in Austria within the last 25 years. And with this time period, the number of cattle did not increase on the same amount. It's more or less on a steady state within the last 20 years. And this leads to fewer but larger dairy farms. On the other hand, we see volatile producer prices. So here, for instance, for the kilogram of milk, this could be between 20 up to 43 euro cents. And we see that this line flattened within the last few years. And in combination with increased costs for labor, feedstuff, and also for consumables, farmers have to face narrow profit margins. Furthermore, we see better educated farmers which run more specialized dairy farms, and at least for those farms who rely on hired workers, they often have problems to find good skilled workers, and this is in particular true for livestock farming. And because of these reasons, farmers are willing to invest their money in sensor technologies because it's often cheaper to have these capital costs compared to labor costs. On the other hand, we see increased consumer expectations on a continuous quality control, and there's also an ongoing discussion about conventional versus organic food production and the reduced medical treatment. So, and in particular, the reduced use of antibiotics. And furthermore, the consumers are more aware of animal welfare. So a few years ago, I couldn't imagine that the milk makes it as a movie into the cinema, or that the suffering of dairy cows is reported in the prime time in the TV. And there are also other issues that concern consumers, and for a lot of people, affordable food is still an issue and still important. And in this context, sensor technologies might help to bridge the gap between the farmer's requirements on one hand and the consumer's expectations. So when we think about sensor technologies, we are in between of precision dairy farming, and I would like to give you a definition on this. So precision dairy farming is the use of sensor technologies that can be used for measuring physiological parameters. For instance, an animal that is in estrus, their behaviors, and also their performance on an individual level. And for this, several sensor technologies are available that can be used on cow. Here you see, for example, an ear tag or other sensors that are mounted to collars. They can be used in cows. This is a rumen bolus brought into the cows. Or there are also technologies available off cow, sensors that are mounted on the milk pipe, which measure individual milk weights or somatic cell counts. And by the use of these sensor technologies, we aim to improve herd health management and, of course, the economic success of the farms. So the use of these technologies have to be economically beneficial, at least on a midterm. And by this, we also want to consider ecological and social concerns. An example for this is the use of automated milking systems, which allow the farmer to spend their working hours more flexible. And this, of course, has an impact on the work-life balance. So how did this all start? Approximately 50 years ago, the first sensor technologies were developed that were used for animal identification. These were passive transponders who send a number for identification. And these technologies are the prerequisite for collecting animal individual behaviors or animal specific data, let me say it in these words. And these technologies then allow us to feed the animals individually, for instance, with concentrates in cows or for milk in calves. And also with the use of these technologies, we were able to record the animal activities and use this for estrus detection. Then the technologies were drifting along a little bit until 1992, when the first automated milking system was introduced in the Netherlands. And then we needed technologies to monitor the milk for mastitis and also for specific milk components. And if you have a look in today's dairy farms, there are a lot of sensor technologies available and they're getting more day by day. And it's really hard to have an overview of what's going on in this area. And if you're interested in this field, I would recommend this homepage here, where these different technologies are structured in my perspective, in a good way, and this homepage is regularly updated, and you can get a lot of information on technologies that are used in dairy cows. So thinking about the past, sensor technologies were mainly developed in Europe and also in Israel, and this was mainly driven because of these high labor costs in these countries. And this might shift a little bit. So at the moment, a lot of money is invested in China and also in North America on these technologies. But also Austria plays a role in developing various technologies, and I would like to present you two of them. So here on the right, you see the SMAX-Tech rumen bolus that was initially developed for measuring rumen pH. And today you have a lot of other features that you can use, for instance, heat detection, calving prediction, also health monitoring, and there are other features available. And in our group at the university, we have the longest experience with an ear tag-based accelerometer system, the SMARTO system. This system was introduced in 2012 at our teaching and research farm at the Bedmet Uni. And still then we're doing research using this technology. This SMARTO system consists of an accelerometer, 3D accelerometer that is powered by a replaceable battery, and it is fixed by a thorn and a counterpart on the animal's ear. And approximately 2 years ago, this Austrian startup company, Smartbo, was bought by Zoetis. And Zoetis is one of the biggest global player in the pharmaceutical industry related to animal health. And you might be a little bit surprised that a pharmaceutical company is investing money in sensor technologies. But this is not an isolated case. So other global players, for instance, Boehringer Ingelheim or Amnesty, invested a lot of money in these technologies. And obviously, the pharmaceutical companies recognize the value of these animal data, animal health data, and they do not want to leave this field to other global players like Microsoft, Amazon, Google. All these companies asked us a long time ago for animal health data, but we didn't give it away. So using these accelerometer system on a 1 Hertz technology, which is the commercial technology, the system generated approximately 80,000 data sets per cow a day. And you can imagine that it's not possible to work with this data with traditional technologies like Excel and so on. For this, we need algorithms that are seeking or searching for specific combinations of data that are indicative for specific animal behaviors. And in this case, the algorithms are self-learning based on neural networks. They are animal-specific, which is a quite new approach, and they aim to detect deviations. How does the animal behave today compared to yesterday, compared to the last week, for example? In our research, we try to link the results of traditional animal examination technologies with sensor data. And on one hand, we try to estimate risk factors for the occurrence of disease. And if we can measure these risk factors, we can control it. And with this, we're working on a herd level in terms of preventive medicine. And on the other hand, looking for deviation of an individual animal, which behaves different than yesterday, we try to early identify animals at risk for disease. And this at least has the potential of a lesser intensive treatment or therapy options, and it might give us the opportunity to reduce the use of antibiotics. So with this, I would like to give you an example of our research. So this is the evaluation of the rumination function of this accelerometer system. And here you see a ruminating cow, and with each chewing cycle, you see a slightly movement of the ear and the head. And this movement can be recorded by the 3D accelerometer and X, Y, and Z axis shown here. And these are the raw data, the acceleration data. For evaluation purposes, we need a reference. And here you see our former doctoral student, Vanessa, and she's counting the single chewing cycles of an animal. And by touching a specific button here on this tablet PC, she sets a unique timestamp for this animal action. And because all systems at our teaching and research farm are time synchronized, we are able to link these animal action with this accelerometer data. And this is last but not least, the basis for the algorithm development and algorithm testing. So we can bring this raw data into an information that an animal is ruminating, and this is shown here in this green parts of this graph. And furthermore, we can bring this information to a next level. So in case these rumination times are above or below specific levels, these systems can generate an alert which is presented on the farmer's smartphone, standard PC, or whatever. What can we achieve with these kind of technologies? This is the diploma thesis of Stefan Reiter I would like to show you. So we selected 10 cows at our teaching and research farm, and we observed them for several days with video cameras. And out of the pool of videos, we choose 100 hours, which is 10 hours per cow at random, and analyze them for the rumination time, which is shown here. And on the other hand, here you see the rumination time that was detected by the ETEC. And you see that most of the values are on this intersectional line, which means we found a quite good correlation. There was one outlier, shown here. In the videos, we could see that this animal was intensively licking on a salt stone, and so there the algorithm was not able to distinguish between rumination and this licking. Overall, we found a deviation in the observed rumination time of 1.1%, which is quite good. And to be honest, if I hadn't done this study, I would be a little bit skeptical. Using 10 Hz ear tags, what we have here at our teaching research farm for research purposes, we are also able to detect rumination bouts and individual chewing cycles. And you see that the most of the data are again on this intersectional lines, and again we found good deviations of between 1.3 and approximately 4%, and this is quite in a good range for practical applications and also for our research questions. And within the last 8 years, we were working on several topics, not only in cows, but also in calves. And we were also working on data integration, which means we took data from different sources on a farm, with different formats, and brought them together in one database. And as you can see on this broad spectrum of activities, we need more than our veterinary expertise. And that's the reason why we work in several consortia with the BOKU, with the technical university, with the JKU. And so we need their help in several topics. And that's one reason why we established at the VetNet Uni the Precision Livestock Farming Hub, which is a group of people working on sensor technologies. And besides our expertise in animal health, animal husbandry, we try to bring in engineers into this group from agricultural science, but also from data science, so that those people are able to work on the algorithms, develop algorithms, and also testing them. And this is quite really an interesting and fascinating field of research, and it makes fun to see this topics from different point of views. Yeah, and with this I would already come to my conclusion. So using this precision dairy farming technologies, we are just at the beginning of the development. There is a lot of research that has to be done, and a lot of system has to be evaluated. These systems definitely are not foolproven. We have to work with them. We have to use them in practice, and we have to make our own experience in using this data. These technologies will neither change dairy cows nor the farmers, but potentially how they work together, how they interact. And within a dairy herd, these sensor technologies might lead to this position that the individual animal within the herd gets more into the focus of the farm. As I already showed you, at least the technologies have the potential to improve animal health and also the welfare of the animals and maybe of the farmers. And of course, there are a lot of open questions that have to be asked, that have to be answered, that have to be worked on, in particular about the economic benefit. There are not so many studies showing this or testing this, about data rights, and of course about the ethics. And yes, I'm happy to participate in this meeting, and yeah, we will see. I'm really looking forward for a nice discussion. And with this, I would like to thank you for your time and listening.